Steve, I know you probably mad as a motherfucker. You got that G.I. Joe hat on, that clip-on mustache.
Steve, I know you presumably distraught as a you got that G.I. Joe cap on that clasp on mustache. Suppose it happened, we're not saying it did. It didn't right. So I don't need you all to be over here spread tales that we said it. You will have a hard time believing the most recent scoop on the Harvey family show so clearly these wild reports are whirling around about Marjorie. You know Steve Harvey's significant other word on the road is that she's been engaged with a few swindling embarrassments, and it's created a remarkable disturbance in their family. It's as she couldn't care less about the one who made her a piece of Harvey's heritage. And here's the genuine kicker: individuals are saying she will leave the marriage with an epic lump of Steve's fortune. The reports are going crazy, and it appears as though Marjorie has a groundbreaking strategy of her own, who realized this outrage would turn the table so emphatically for the Harvey family. Individuals are around here spilling the tea that since Marjorie strolled down the passageway with Steve, she's been dropping these not so unpretentious clues about wandering from the conjugal way. Definitely we trying to say speculatively, right, assuming it happened. Do you think Steve Harvey is fine, or do you believe he's simply come to acknowledge the way that he's a little more established? His better half did what she did, yet he cherishes her, and he would rather not begin once again. So the inquiry was, do I feel that Steve Harvey is fine? I will else say no right presently. I will say no in light of the fact that I accept that Steve Harvey, the picture that he's put out, is that he's emptied his heart into Marjorie. Okay, and for her to deceive him by laying down with one more man, which blast with enormous blast, better believe it, that is the name right. He left his ex for Marjorie, and presently it appears as though he's in it for the long stretch. Embarrassment be darned. And individuals are as of now calling this the following extraordinary harassment of the 10 years, and Steve's no sham, regardless of her structure, a standing of herself. A few wild mysteries and a shocking past have placed the window hangings on, so we should travel once again into the past to gain everything from the very start, right up to the present day, while the ride might prepare energizing. So get at the hour of her most memorable marriage. Marjorie was only 18 years of age when she went over a man 14 years more seasoned than her, yet here's the trick: this man, Jim, was at that point married to somebody, and around then, Marjorie had no clue about that Jim had a spouse holding up behind the scenes. When their shocking enthusiasm unfurled, Jimmy, you don't seem to be something you've had to deal with. Now you've served more than 20 years, 27 years in jail. You were getting 28. As a matter of fact, on the off chance that you included the year I did in the state, when I was truly coming up in the game, since you were initially given like a lifelong incarceration with a the chance of parole, currently you've been out for about what, 4 or 5, 6 years, or 6 years in January. And in light of the fact that she got unpleasant and rushed, she quit taking conception prevention pills and got pregnant, so Jim will undoubtedly leave his past wife, and that is the very thing that Jim wound up doing. So the couple got hitched in the wake of dating for close to 3 years anyway. Their sentiment endured approximately 7 years, including almost 3 years of marriage. I aged despite the fact that Jim and Marjorie's marriage had its promising and less promising times. Nobody saw it coming that her ex would get condemned one day soon. The FBI and DEA began researching Marjorie and the medication boss Jim L. Townsend, who was at that point accused of an endeavor to purchase 40 kilograms of cocaine. When the higher specialists murmured to Jim that Marjorie was likewise turning into the suspect, he pursued the concurrence with the DEA and took the defeat, despite the fact that years after the fact he was declared with a lifelong incarceration, yet just needed to burn through a long time. From that point forward, President Barack Obama had absolved him, or probably he was put in the slammer for life. In the meantime, looking at Steve's natural life, he previously wedded his most memorable wife, Marcia, in 1980. They invited twin young ladies, Carly and Cognac. Following a couple of years at the time, Steve battled to truly establish himself and function as a protection sales rep. However, subsequent to attempting stand-up satire and winning a 50 in front of the pack prize, he left his responsibility to seek after a day-to-day existence in parody. Marcia and Steve's relationship was not smooth, eventually prompting their separation in 1994. Steve supposedly started seeing his second spouse, Mary Shackelford, while his separation from his most memorable wife, Marcia, was all the while forthcoming. Yet later, the breaks in their relationship started to show, and Mary gradually understood that Steve was not the man she thought he was. Gossipy tidbits about his traitorousness contacted her ears, creating a shaded area of doubt. Anyway, she didn't keep down faulting Steve for cheating and physical and mental maltreatment. In the meantime, Marjorie and Steve initially met in 1990 when Steve was playing at a bar in Memphis, Tennessee, and later wedded in 2007. The charming couple portrayed their most memorable experience on an episode of Steve Harvey's discussion program, The Stevie Harvey Show, in 2018. Yet again, okay, child, where did I meet you? Goodness, whenever we first met, Memphis, we're at a satire club. Okay, how could we meet? Let them know, tell them precisely the way that we endeavor. First thing I said, you let them know how we met. I was late, you were late, came to a parody club. She descended front with her sweetheart. When I saw I quit breathing, he halted the show. Really, I wasn't talking. So I accompanied my sweetheart. I was late, and I thought he planned to give me the business since he got genuine calm, and he was simply gazing at me, so I was looking out for him to, you know how to, despite the fact that their absolute firstiation was moment they in the end split up following half a month of dating. I realized he was the one soon after I began dating him. However, at that point, he just left. Vanished, Marjorie told Embodiment in 2014. Steve swore he was in a terrible monetary circumstance and was centered around his calling. Then, before a man can be useful to a lady, he must know who he is, what he does, and the amount he will make. He told the magazine he and Marjorie reconnected in 2005, north of 10 years after the fact, and the time was ideal. Steve's second union with Mary Shackelford had as of late finished, and he had recently finished shooting his parody, The Steve Harvey Show. Steve reduced most, if not all, connection with Marjorie in the wake of questioning for some time, since he was at that point managing his significant other, and the emergency was getting more undermining on the job. Rounds that Mary Lee blamed Stevie for going behind her back with Marjorie. In the meantime, Miss Fashionista Marjorie likewise continued on toward one more darling after so much show with Jim, and this time it was Jim's cousin Darnell Woods, and they had a little girl assembled. Lori individuals are stunned to discover that Darnell was additionally an opiate vendor and Townsend's cousin. However, at that point he was even put in a correctional facility, after which Marjorie settled her separation in 2001. Presently, following quite a while of their just ever after, things took a divert. Murmurs from unverified sources indicate a developing embarrassment, including Marjorie, who purportedly meandered from her conjugal promises with, in all honesty, Steve's own guardian. The alleged treachery has walloped fanatics of the power couple, who have long respected their completely flawless relationship and perfect style decisions. To add a wind to the tale, Marjorie appears to have enrolled legitimate help from a relative's lawyer, suggestive of her supposed past strategies to fight off Steve's ex in court fights. Yet presently individuals are dazed as in a stunning turn that has sent shockwaves through the diversion world. Reports are stirring that Marjorie Harvey, the tasteful spouse of Steve Harvey, is supposedly having a despicable illicit relationship with, as a matter of fact, Steve's own protector, William Enormous Blast Freeman. And on the off chance that you haven't known about this, an examination by Radar Online has uncovered a few upsetting realities about Freeman's past. It has been shown that Freeman, who goes about as Harvey's right-hand man, has a dim history as a previous pimp, and honestly admits to utilizing ladies. As per his own site bio, Freeman concedes to having gone after ladies to acquire a feeling of force and self during his experience as a pimp. He contends that he has since turned his life around, situating himself as a commended speaker, creator, and superstar protector. The stunner cases of an unlawful undertaking between Marjorie Harvey and the puzzling William Huge Blast Freeman have begun a tempest of guests shaking the underpinning of their once lucky marriage and day-to-day life. The disclosure has left many paralyzed, scrutinizing the actual security of the carefully built mixed family that Steve and Marjorie Harvey have displayed to the world. Steve Harvey's heartfelt excursion appears to have seen its reasonable portion of exciting bends in the road, with Marjorie Harvey prevailing as his better half for north of 10 years, a section in his life that regarded parts from exes Mary Lee Harvey and Marcia Harvey. Anyway, the untainted story has as of late been defaced by a tempest of bamboozling reports, including Marjorie and, as a matter of fact, Steve's long-term protector, the baffling Enormous Blast. The captivating situation starts to get interesting as fans scramble to see Huge Blast's job in Steve's life. This figure clearly played intermediary by persuading Steve That Marjorie was his ordained accomplice holding multi-layered jobs, large blast fills in as Steve's guardian and confidential cook, adding unpredictability to this unfurling story. Gracious. It's entertaining, and I love it. However, I am a joker. Dead, I joke the entire day, possibly time I don't joke it. In the event that I'm truly going through something, you understand what I mean, like on the off chance that I'm attempting to sort out how I will cover this bill, I'm before an adjudicator on the off chance that I ain't got none of those kind of issues, I'm all set, you understand what I mean. There we go. I value you all. Pay attention to Nino Brown going in on Steve Harvey's significant other. He said, I don't actually know her name. Marjorie Harvey edged Darby. Whatever unfamiliar music, Nino Brown said, as the narratives of unfaithfulness surprised the web, energized by sources like GH page. A video showed up of Marjorie energetically expressing her inclination for a pool kid over Steve during a family quarrel episode, yet appears as though Steve Harvey is expressing each gossip false. In a now popular TikTok, the star should have been visible chatting on stage before a